Hello, everyone. I'm Ibrahim. I'm the CEO of Lumi AI. Lumi is an enterprise analytics platform that powers the most intuitive chat experience for analytics, enabling both data teams and business users to instantly uncover actionable insights from ERPs, databases, and data warehouses. It's faster, cheaper than having to manually analyze it using SQL or Python. Our platform is already helping organizations like Kroger, Compass Group, Deloitte, along with several mid-sized consumer brands, uncover millions in value across systems like SAP, Snowflakes, and Databricks. And I'm really excited to be here today to explain why business intelligence is broken and to showcase how Lumi's agentic workflows are transforming the way enterprises interact with their data. So the conventional wisdom in data world has always been focused on centralizing data and building self-service reporting layers. This diagram probably depicts the architecture most organizations have. But despite millions invested in data warehouses and dashboards, companies still complain about having a data bottleneck and waiting days for answers buried in complex systems. Moreover, the term business intelligence is often synonymous with dashboards, but the reality is having more dashboards doesn't mean having more insights. If anything, having too many dashboards just causes confusion and distrust in the data. Now, don't get me wrong, having centralized dashboards is a fantastic starting point, but oftentimes the insights, the real insights, the ones that move the needle, require hours of spreadsheet analysis. And when you hit the limitations of Excel, require the ability to code in SQL or Python. And this is a skill set that's usually reserved by more technical data analysts who are usually just swamped with requests from business teams demanding custom insights as of yesterday. And so this is a big operational problem. To address this, a new standard for analytics is emerging, one where we see the introduction of this agentic layer, an AI data analyst that is connected to your source systems or your data warehouse, understands your business terminology and all the quirks and nuances that may exist in your data model, and where both data teams and business users alike can just interact with it by simply asking questions in plain language. And that's what Lumi's all about, to democratize access to insights by making the process of exploring enterprise data as simple as asking a question. Again, it's faster and it's cheaper than having to manually analyze it. To contextualize, I'll dive into a live demo and we can showcase a few of the capabilities that Lumi can do. So I'll just flip over my screen. And all right. Okay. So this is the Lumi platform. There are 4 key modules to note here: the chat, boards, knowledge base, and verifications. Chat is the primary interface where you can ask questions and get answers. Any insight from the chat interface can be pinned onto a board. The knowledge base is the main repository of context that the agents pull from to answer users' questions. Without the knowledge base, the agents would not be able to produce any meaningful output. Verifications is our newest module and allows users to request verification for any AI-generated insights from a human analyst. Let's jump into one example. So this is the first one. I like this because it really showcases a variety of capabilities. Let's dive deeper. This is from a retail data model and assume the persona of a supply planner. So question is, within PBNA, which items had the largest drop in sales when comparing the first time frame to the second? You can see Lumi retrieves the data and auto visualizes it for you. If you want to hover over to see the data, you can. That's not an issue. If you want to edit the chart, you can. You can also convert it into a table output. That's not an issue. Lumi also summarizes the findings for you, in this case, explicitly calling out that item 1003 had the largest drop in sales. It gives you also clickable follow-ups. And these are just recommended actions. The ability to thumbs up or thumbs down a response, and this is an active feedback mechanism that only reinforces behavior. The ability to add to boards, and the ability to request human verification. Now, if you want to see how Lumi generated these insights, you can show thinking. And this actually shows you what's happening under the hood. It shows you how the agents interact with one another. So the first thing we do is we rephrase the user's prompt. And this is just to ensure a higher quality input to the LLMs, so to speak. We then pull context from the knowledge base. Again, this is just the most relevant pieces of information or any associated memory. So previously thumbs up or thumbs down responses that would be helpful to Lumi's agents in generating the response. We then generate the query. So in this case, you can see a step-by-step explanation in plain language, the assumptions, as well as the actual SQL code that's dynamically generated on the fly. So this isn't, pre-built or anything like that. This is on the fly dynamic. One thing I want to draw your attention to is that when I said PBNA, that's a pretty vague term. What does that mean? But Lumi automatically knew that I was referring to the items that fall under category ID equals to 2. And that's because of the power of the knowledge base. It was able to pull that context from there. And we will demo the knowledge base. Don't worry about that. And you can also see how it includes it in the where clause as well. So it's actually incorporating this nuance in its logic. Cool. So in this case, item 1003 had the largest drop in sales. Lumi's telling us to investigate the potential causes. Why did sales dip? And that's a very reasonable question. And I actually ran that prompt and we got a response here. I want to draw your attention to this finding over here, where Lumi highlights that stock availability was a major issue in November 2023 with 18 days out of stock recorded. You can also, and it's compared to, basically nothing in previous months. And you can also see that in the visual, right? You can see a clear spike in the number of out of stock days compared to all previous months. If you want to see how customization looks like, it's fairly simple. So let's say I come in here, I can change the label if I want to, total quantity sold. So it's very dynamic in this case. I can change this from bar to line. I can change it from solid to dashed. I can also add a marker if I want to and kind of undo and redo as I need to. So again, just showcasing a variety of capabilities here. Lumi's ability to isolate exceptions for you, so identify exceptions and then understand why these exceptions are happening by diagnosing the root causes. If you'd like to share these insights, you can always do that. Share it with anyone on the team and just click share or copy the link and they'll have it. Okay, moving on. Here's another example that I really like because it showcases Lumi's ability to answer and handle highly custom multi-step questions that traditional BI tools simply can't manage dynamically. And for those who are more technical on the line, really consider the complexity of what's happening here, right? This is essentially a two-part story. First, of the raw materials with high demand, say 70%, top 70%. And second, which of those have the lowest weeks of supply? Now, so this isn't a simple lookup or a pre-joined data set or anything like that. Under the hood, it's performing, and we can kind of see it over here. It's performing multiple CTE logic, generating high quality SQL dynamically and not relying on any predefined metrics or templates. It's really quite incredible, and Lumi doesn't really struggle here. In this case, giving us a report with 5 columns with those with the lowest weeks of supply, as in inventory, but measured in weeks and not units or anything of the sort. You can also ask Lumi to add or remove columns, and it works perfectly fine as well. In this case, we asked it to recommend the replenishment quantity for each of these raw materials with low weeks of supply, and you can see Lumi was just able to add in this extra column to the same number of 39 records that were generated before. And so this really showcases that Lumi's more than capable of building on or iterating on the report that it generated earlier. All right. And so now moving on to the knowledge base. And, we're really proud of the agentic workflows, but without the knowledge base, they really wouldn't be too helpful. First thing to note is that there could be multiple knowledge bases in an organization. Users are granted access to a specific knowledge base based on their data permissions. So again, you can control access controls as needed. The first thing you would do is pick a connection, and there's a couple of modes of options here for you. You can have a direct connection to your favorites, whatever systems you want, BigQuery, Databricks, Snowflake, things like that. And if it's an on-prem system that you can't really communicate over the internet, we have a gateway connector as well. But anyways, those are just the options that we have available to you. Once we establish a connection, you can go to the tables tab to basically pick the tables and fields that you want Lumi to know about. So over here, you can pick and choose the exact tables. And then you can, for each table, pick the exact fields that you want Lumi to be able to query. You can also rename vague columns. So if in the source name it's called NO underscore, you can create a human readable semantic layer, call this item ID and things like that. You can also see what Lumi sees over here in the table preview. And then you can toggle the meta metrics over here, we call them, to see what properties are automatically captured from each field. that's provided as extra context to Lumi. So things like your min max values, the percentage of null, your, the number of distinct records and things like that is all captured here. And you're essentially populating all this context here so that Lumi develops its own understanding of your data model. In this case, understanding that I can join the bill of materials table to the inventory table on item ID. And this is an implicit join condition, so it's implicitly inferring this based on a semantic name. If you want to define an explicit join condition, you can very simply. And again, this is all extra context that's made available to Lumi. If we want to see how to add a table, it's fairly simple. I'm just going to pick a random table over here. I actually don't know what this is, so I'll just call it test and test. And what you can see also, you can add table details. Any specific context you want Lumi to know about that table, you can add it in. But for the sake of this example, let's say I brought in these 3 fields. You can see that in the model, this gets already added to the canvas. And then if, let's assume that API integration is actually item ID. So I just give it a human readable label and it automatically joins to my data model. So it's really quite simple to just manage that context about your data model and all the nuances that may exist as well. Moving on to business context, this is just the ability to add in any details, aliases, KPIs that you want Lumi to know about for your business and incorporate it in its logic when answering users' questions. The sky's the limit here. There are so many ways we've seen clients be creative in populating context here, and you can do what you want. Think of it as a reason for doing documentation properly, right? All the tribal knowledge that may be locked up in someone's head, you can document it here, and now it's made available to the agents to consume, and that person wouldn't need to answer that question on their own manually. Moving on to memories. So this is the tab that allows you to control the previously thumbs up or thumbs down responses. So you can see what was previously thumbs up and either commit it into memory or ignore it, depending on your circumstance. But again, just a really good way to give the agents examples of good, do more of good, or examples of bad, avoid the bad. And then finally, a way to manage user permissions. Viewers can only see the knowledge base and query it, whereas contributors can actually edit the context in the knowledge base as well. All right, so in short, the knowledge base just gives you a lot of precision over the context that you want Lumi to know about your data structure, so it can answer the questions with as high accuracy as possible and high quality as possible. It's just a really easy and seamless way to kind of curate and manage that context. Going back to the deck, and to get started, and for those enterprises looking for a low risk, low effort way to trial Lumi's capabilities, we do have a pilot program. We offer white glove onboarding services, require about a few hours of effort from your team's time, and we can get up and running within 1 week. If you'd like to enroll, please feel free to reach out as soon as you can, because we don't have too many spots left. And there's always a CTA at the bottom where you can find our request demo page. I encourage you to kind of look through there as well. If you'd like to connect with me personally, here's a QR code. You can connect directly with me on LinkedIn, or feel free to email me at any time. But thanks again for watching, everyone.